For the establishment of a publicly owned company to import sugar.
The Kenya Sugar Board is supposed to be reinstated. We need to see a sugar packaging, production, and so many other things regulated at one point.
There is no way a country can be able to neglect a seed carrier and we expect to thrive. We must fight, protect, and continue to fight for the boy child.
Utendakazi wa bandari kuregeshwa bila vijana kuajiriwa, bila vijana kupata tenda, itakuwa haina maana yote.
Rais wetu aweze kutilia mkazo hili neno la vijana kupata ajira pale poti na katika zile kampuni zingine ambazo ziko katika hii area yetu ya Pwani.
Tunataka umoja, tunataka upendo. Ile muda tumepoteza kwa siasa, kwa maandamano, kwa kurushiana mawe na nini, hiyo ni kipindi kisahaulike. Maongezi waongee vizuri, kuwe na utulivu, tujenge taifa, mwananchi wa chini akose kuumia.
Wewe kama umelichaguliwa na chama cha ODM, wewe umefunga ndoa na ODM kwa miaka 5. Utabaki ndani ya ODM, utatetea sheria ya ODM, utafuata amri ya ODM, mwongozo ya ODM.
Kile ambacho ametoka akakifanya juzi ni kitendo cha kulaaniwa na kusema ni kitendo ambacho hakifanani na maneno yake. Kwa sababu inclusivity haiwezi kuwa ni yeye tu kutaka kuingia ama kupenya katika serikali na isiwe si mtu mwingine yoyote.
Mbona hawajafukuza Kalonzo kwa Azimio? Kama hawa MPs waliketi na rais wako na makosa, Kalonzo amekuja pale na amekula chakula, amefungwa kitambaa hapa ya white, amekula vizuri nini. Si huyo ndio ya kufukuzwa?
Haya mazungumzo ambayo yanaendelea kwa sasa tuyaache, sababu ni kujifanya tu. Kile hali mtu anajitakia yeye mwenyewe, hataki wale viongozi wengine ambao wamechaguliwa waweze kunufaika na wanufaishe wananchi ambao waliwachagua.
Huyu mtu he is not genuine about any dialogue, any discussion.
Gharama maisha imepanda sana. Bei ya unga iko wapi?
Huyu kitendawili historia yake ni mbaya.
Bei ya mafuta ya kupika, petroli.
Sasa mimi naenda Colombia kutafuta soko ya kahawa, alafu nipite Cuba. Lakini nimepanga. Hiyo ikulu nimeweka mitego kila kona, kila pande, kila mahali nimeweka. Na niko na watu wa kunipigia simu. Wakionekana tu karibu naambiwa. Kwa sababu uwezi mtu ameharibu serikali 4 umkubalie akuje ya 5. Si ataharibu.
Mnaona hata mimi navumilia wale wa maandamano na mara naongelesha hawa kidogo nini. Kwa sababu sasa unajua hii dunia na mambo ni namna hiyo. So tunasungushana tu hivyo, lakini tunahakikisha kwamba kazi inaendelea.
Tunasema kuna jukumu ya serikali ya juu na jukumu ya serikali ya chini. Kujenga masoko. Soko ni jukumu ya serikali ya chini. Wamekataa nayo, wanataka wao ndio wanajenga soko, alafu rudi kuja kufungua. Unasikia hiyo?
Juzi amekuja pale KICC, nimemkaribisha vizuri. Simuliona? Kwa heshima, kwa sababu yeye ni mzee wetu, amekuja, tumemwalika. Sasa kuliko aende ya kwa kiti yake, anataka kuingia marais mahali wamekaa wale wamechaguliwa. Na hii kuna mtu amemchagua.
Kujenga manyumba ni jukumu ya serikali ya chini. Wamekataa na pesa. Matibabu ni jukumu ya serikali ya chini. Wamekataa na pesa.
Tunataka tumchunge, tumpagie retirement yake, tutafutie askari, tutafutie gari, nyumba ya kukaa, akitaka pikipiki moja ama bili ya kumuongoza, there is no problem. Kama iko makosa, aende nyumbani apumzike. Iko sasa hiyo miaka 80, sasa ina miaka nasonga.
The continuity of a government is a strong party.
Wacha kununua wabunge ambao walichaguliwa kwa chama ya Azimio.
Wakenya wote, wangogo zote za Kenya, to join chama ambayo ni ya kimataifa, chama ya kitaifa cha UDA.
Wanachama wote wa UDA
tunaenda kufanya uchaguzi Disemba.
Wabunge wamepigwa mnada, unapiga kura bila kufikiria.
Mimi ndio naweka ile register ya shares. Nyinyi mko na shares mingi kabisa.
Sasa funguliwe. Funguliwe.
Kila mtu muingie kwa chama ya UDA. Wamama mkiniona hapa kama chairperson, mjue hiyo chama, muende mchukue hizo viti zote huko grassroots.
Huyu William Ruto walimtesa. Nimefika pale kwa nyumba alikuwa anakaa. Nimekuta ilikuwa inanyesha kama mchana. Alikuwa kila nyumba ameweka sufuria ya kuteka maji. Choo zote zimevunjika. Maji imekatwa, stima imekatwa. Mtoto wa mwenyewe, si hata yeye ni mtoto wa mama. Walimuumiza huyu rais. Mimi nilienda pale nikatoa machozi. Sikuwa najua ameumia kiasi hiyo.
Kwa sasa hivi kati ya shilingi 10 ambayo tunaokota kama ushuru, shilingi 6 kwa shilingi 10 tunatumia kulipa madeni. Kwa sababu jukumu la kujenga Kenya ni jukumu letu. Wale wanaota ndoto ya kwamba wataiba mali yetu ama watatumia ufisadi na ukora na utapeli kuharibu mali wa Kenya wametafuta, ushuru wa Kenya wamelipa. Hawa watu nimewaambia mambo yao ni matatu.
Well, the soapbox there, just giving you a package of how it was last week or over the weekend as well, to just give you the feel and flavor of how the political tone and tenor is in the country as well. We continue the conversation with our panelists, and just some of the issues that have been raised there on the soapbox is also part of our discussion as well, one of which is the issues to do with the county functions that now seems to be doubling between the national government and the counties, and also the governors are raising questions on this as well. When we were to circle back with you, Senator Hilary Sigei.
Thank you, Debal. Shortly before you took a break, you made reference to the comments by
Governor of Tharaka Nithi.
Yes, Muthomi Njoki, in terms of the public participation element and what the government is pushing for publication and debate on the proposed changes to the legislations in the health sector. And Article 118 of the Constitution provide for that particular concern. And allow me to just highlight the basics of the provisions. This is actually what it says, that the business of Parliament must be conducted in an open manner, and all the sittings, both the Committee of the Whole and committees, are meant to be open to the public. And Parliament is expected to facilitate this particular process by a number of issues. The proposals by the government towards these amendments to the health sector legislation is part of the reforms which Kenya Kwanza indeed, when it campaigned, indicated to the public that we will push for reforms within the public health sector in order to achieve the universal health coverage. It can only be done so by instituting these particular reforms. And how do we do it? How do we get involved in public participation? There are almost 3 or 4 ways with which this can be done. Through petitions submitted by either individuals, institutions, governments, or in this case, the public department, like the Ministry of Health that is involved in this issue. Begin to send out petitions on what are the areas which are key for amendments. Secondly, submit what I would say the memoranda, which is now the foundation of the legislative proposals which the Minister of Health has come up with. And lastly, we now got to do the session where we call them what? Public meetings. This is now the proper public participation where I, as a typical villager out there, can get involved by a convened session, whether by the national government or county government or any other relevant institution that is involved in the process. Assuming it was a public sponsored bill, for instance, I would undertake that process, and it is at this public forum that I get to achieve the public participation process that is going on, such that when the governor says that they ought to have been involved, the process is not done. It is not that this particular bill has been tabled and no county government has been left out or has not been involved. There are so many ways with which they'll come in. There is now the creation of the awareness, which is ongoing. The publication, the comments by the president, the passage of those 4 proposals by the cabinet in the cabinet brief that was released, was it last week, but one, has now shared out the intention of the government. There will definitely be now a continuous creation of awareness, which is basically what we are doing even right now. In this conversation, we are creating the awareness that this is going on. They will definitely be involved the moment they are tabled in the House, the moment it's published formally for purposes of debate. So I do not see a reason as to why the good governor is feeling like they've been left out. Of course, we are aware of the roles that are devolved. And when we talk about the health being devolved, remember we still have got the policies which are at the national level. We've just come out of the devolution conference in Kishu County. And among the resolutions which were made by the joint committee of course, national government and the governors, that through the Council of Governors, where we also as senators were involved, though we had our reservations about the extent of the involvement of the Senate in terms of the preparedness and the contributions. Among the 52 items which are yet to be devolved, a number of them were within the health sector. This deval tells you that we still within the confines of the Constitution, being a progressive document that guides the country, that guides the departments, that guides the counties in terms of what is it that they are supposed to do to benefit the Kenyans. It is actually the right move by publishing these proposed amendments, because what we want to achieve is universal health care to the lowest level of the electorates in Kenya. And remember, this is one of the things that we've even talked about this morning, where the members of parliament, when they are asking for some of the things which you say could be a bit luxurious, they are not. The only way we can build a nation is when we have our health sector properly functioning, and when we have every Kenyan being able to access without having been given preconditions as to whether or not they have money, they have resources, they have insurance covers, or all that. This is the only way with which we will achieve that universal health care. And remember, it's one of the major agenda items of the Kenya Kwanza government. This is one of those things that when the campaign was going on, we went out telling the people that this is what we're going to achieve. And when they push for the availing of what we used to call voluntary health promoters, VHCs, they are now going to be called VHPs, because they'll be paid for and they'll be supplied with the necessary equipment to do the primary healthcare check in every household. And the proposal, which I think the government will be implementing in the next few months, courtesy of some of these proposals, is to ensure that for every 100 households, they have a VHP who will be able to help them at that primary level to progress to the next level, if need be, or to protect their health care.
All right, so you said, of course, the proposal is laudable.
Yes, it is.
But the action of he not being given that complementarity concern is a big issue as well. And I want just Senator Mungatana to pick up on that.
About
the health bill that we're talking about and the complementarity of both the participation, the governors being also given a voice in this particular bill as it is.
First of all, as senators, our business is to protect the county government. So we are not happy when we see that county governments are being denied any particular role in execution of their mandate. However, we need to be very clear on this matter. When national government and county governments are working together, there is the principle of complementarity. So if the national government is working together with the county government to say set up level 4 hospital, it is irresponsible for the leader of opposition, Raila Odinga, to stand and say that it is wrong for the president to launch county government projects. Why not? If there is complementarity, if there is support, there is no problem with doing that. And that should be the principle that is operational across board. If the national government is able to work with any county government to create 100 households, housing units within a county, the county government doesn't have the money. What is wrong with complementarity? When someone stands and says this is a county government function, I think it is negative. I think the approach should be whatever the national government has been able to bring to us, what more can we add? And I think this is very clear when we talk about the industrial parks in various counties. President has proposed that we should set out industrial park in various. We should actually build deliberately to encourage industrialization in our counties. We should put up industrial parks. And these industrial parks, county government put in some money, and I will put in some money. That's called complementarity. So if a county government prioritizes the development of an industrial park, then that is an example of what should happen between the national government and the county governments. These two levels are not enemies. These two levels are not exclusive. The way the leader of opposition is trying to bring it up, it's like these people are states. They are not states. They are county governments. They are not state independent states. So even in the health sector, in the housing sector, they should and must actually complement each other so that we have a successful nation. And remember, one of the principles of the evolution and Article 174 is that we should create unity in diversity. So all these county governments should not be looking at themselves as independent units, but we should be having, that diversity should be there, but the unity of the nation must be the overriding factor, so that the local mwananchi can gain the benefits of the evolution. On the issue of the 1% bill,
we will come to that. We will come to that because I wanted to ask. Still, when we had the president now going to Kajiado, for instance, and he makes a pronouncement that now all those revenues that is coming from Amboseli, it will be now within or under the remits of Kajiado County.
Yes,
we know that has been gazetted.
Yeah.
Are we going to foresee a degazettement of what is happening? Because now, if we is setting this precedence, and where you're talking about complementarity,
yes,
other counties like your county will feel like also we have a Savo area, or a Savo National Park, which is within our remit as well.
Yes,
and we want all the resources to be coming to the Tana River County.
Yes.
How will you wake up, you as a senator, one day and you hear the president making such a pronouncement that now these revenues will not be going to this particular region, but it will be coming to Kajiado?
Okay,
where is the demarcation line between the executive and the role of the counties? Even when there is a gazettement and you do a degazettement, are you also still overplaying your hands?
I don't think so. If it's a positive thing, and let me tell you, there are people, let's take the example of Kajiado. Those people have been fighting to have a bigger share of the revenues going to their county. So when the president stands up and says 50% of this should come to the local county instead of it going to the national government, I think it's a very positive thing.
At the expense and disenfranchisement of other communities as well.
The understanding is that 50% remains local, okay? So that doesn't mean that, I think you get the principle, because even in Taita Taveta, one of the things that he said was that people must benefit from their local resources. In fact, it's one of the principles of devolution. And he said, and I remember one of our colleagues there saying that if indeed that 50% of the incomes from revenues from Tsavo National Park will be coming to Taita Taveta County, he will consider coming to UDA. You know, it is that fundamental. So what I'm saying is that sometimes the national government can come in to actually sort out an issue that is outstanding for so long, and that is the spirit of complementarity. Even if it is a public declaration, if it is positive for us, we will always want that to continue happening, because that is the spirit in which this country must operate. And we should never accept negativity. When someone stands up and says, oh, you've come to open a county project, what does that mean? All projects are located in a county somewhere.
But for political expediency, and this is where I want British Elachi to just come and chime in as well. But for political expediency, until really taking the thunder from the government or the county government at the end of the day, now we're talking politics. You say, yeah, it's a salutary effort, but still this is a complementarity, it's executive or the national government and the county government. But for you as a governor, for your political expediency, you want to be seen on the forefront that this is what the county government has done. If the national government comes and takes over this particular project as well, how then do you, for optics and also for your functions and accountability, how then do you explain?
Well, first of all is that, let me start with the Senate. You see, what the governors should also do is to appreciate you have a Senate at the national level. The challenge with the governors, that is why now they are facing this challenge, is in the beginning, they agreed to have a relationship with the national government. In the beginning, you realized all of them went have a meeting with the president in Naivasha, and so they agreed. And so in those agreements, now these are the consequences. Because if you agreed on some of these things, and you have now the executive, the national government coming in, it is the Senate now to question them. When you went for your meeting, because the senators were not there, what did you agree? Before now we come and ask them, now you are coming to launch. Now you are coming, you do these declarations. Did you agree on Article 189? Was there that agreement? Because for us now, it is difficult. It was a 3 days meeting. Am I wrong or right, senators?
There is actually Naivasha, right?
Yes,
yeah, it
was 3 days meeting. All of them were there, the whole country, all governors were there. Nobody knew whether you agreed on Article 189, that is how you're going to do your
roles. Which says, for the benefit of the viewers.
Yes, Article 189 talks about the cooperation between the national and county government. And it's very clear that either government of level shall come in and agree to assist, especially assist, support, and consult, and as appropriate, implement the legislations of the other level of government. We don't know whether that is what they agreed, or liaise with the government at the other level of the purpose of exchanging information, coordinating policies, administration, and enhancing capacity. So, after I have said that, now let's go to the political side. The political side, as you say, it is true. But then, the most important thing also, governors now have money. All of it. We should be seeing them functioning more better, and even on the ground, than seeing them always having to have all these issues. That is one gap. The governors themselves have created citizens to start thinking we can even create more counties because there is an issue. It's the governors. That weakness we are seeing now, where Kenyans are pushing for another, we must have our county, is because the governors just decided, either because politically you did not get votes that side, and now for 10 years, going 15, these other communities are wondering, so what do we do? And they are about now to bring in the same issues, And when you read the Constitution, I think Article 189 or 188, you realize they have a right. There are some of the issues they are raising to create more counties are very clear, and they are there. But then, is that what we want as Kenyans? No. The third thing is that for the issue of health, I think for me as a woman, Article 43 is critical. And I would wish both counties and national government to look at it very critically. And I remember as women, even in all our memorandums, even the one we sent the other day, we are really pushing. We want to see if these roles are of national or county government, then let us see the county government working on them and ensuring that citizens within the counties can see these things happening. I know health is a very critical thing. Health, many Kenyans, if you take it to a referendum today, you realize how Kenyans will change that function back to the national government. So is that what the governors want? I think in that one they have to collaborate. They have to come up with very serious ways of working together, because Kenyans feel, especially, let's start with the HR side. The HR side, we need, even as legislators, must rethink it. There's no way your wife is working as a nurse in County X cannot transfer to where the family is. I don't know how we realized, how we ended up having that gap. And for the last 10, we are going 15 years, we must sort it out. We must also sort out this thing where we have more doctors in Nairobi, yes. But is there a way, if we have a crisis in Vihiga, in Kakamega, in Tana River, in Lamu, a doctor is flied out to that place without being questioned, because at that time the expertise is not there. And that is another crisis all counties are facing. And we have to accept we did it wrongly. We went politically, as you say, when we started these counties. When we started counties, when I was a senator, one question we asked, each county is unique, and the Constitution was very clear that you are unique and dynamic. You cannot be like a county that used to hold all the provisions of then the provinces. That county is more advanced than your county. So if I blow to you all functions, definitely you'll have challenges. But if we went step by step, some counties now would have had better development policies, because they would grow gradually as they build and bring the foundations and making their counties better. But those are the challenges we are facing now. So we must ask ourselves, even as we do the national dialogue, even as I see all these things we are talking about, and I want to plead to all our male colleagues, I mean, let us tone down. Let us accept these talks is going to bring us something better than what we are seeing. It's not just about the issues they raised there. What about if Kenyans bring more issues and overwhelm the issues they raised? Are you telling me we are not going to deal with? We
and
will.
Of course, more issues are being raised as well.
And when you see the issues that are being raised, every memorandum is talking about it is time is now to look and relook at our Constitution. And that is why those things are being raised.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's just hear, and as we're winding up on that particular bit, then we now go to the unemployment insurance bill as well that is being sponsored by Bernard Shinali of the Kolomani. According to your assessment last week, this is in a very germinal stage, as it is. It's still in the draft stage, so there are many gray areas going to be debated. But we still raise the issue of, even if it's going to be robustly debated in-house, in terms of opposition having the number to countermand and expand some of these, very contentious articles that we have in that particular bill. Will you see any light of day in actually pushing for some of the striking of these articles yourself?
That is the social health bill.
Yeah, we're discussing social
health. Maybe before I get to that bill, let me just comment on this issue of devolution, the counties and all that is raised by my colleagues. And You know, anytime I listen to the senators when you come to these shows, I always get worried whether really the senators are there to support the executive or to push the interests of the counties.
It depends where they stand.
Because the law is very clear. You know, the law is very clear. If you look at this law, Article 96, and these are lawyers and senior lawyers, not just lawyers. These guys are serious lawyers. The law is very clear. The reason why we have this Senate is to push for the interest of the counties. In a situation where you see the governors going to Naivasha for 3 days, and they sit with the president, and then they come with agreements, and then the Senate is not part of that agreement, and the law is very clear, I would have expected the Senate to come out and say, you guys have agreed, but our interest is to serve the interest of the counties. A governor is a temporary person in a county 10 years, and you exit. Assuming they conspired, because they're both executive, you know, executive county, executive national. If they conspired to do funny things, would the Senate just say because they have agreed, we will support this? And these are the issues. For example, when we talk about complementarity, you know, when you look at the intergovernmental committee, and you look at the APEC, which takes care of the finances, the other one takes care of the general issues. It is very clear that even as they discuss at that level, they cannot just assume that we don't have this constitution. So my expectation is, in a situation where a function is devolved, and the government has decided to give a conditional grant to a county to undertake that function, which is a devolved function, because there are cases where the allocations we are giving to the counties might not be enough to take up some of the important programs for this country. And then the national government decides to give a conditional grant, specifically, for example, the industrial parks. They are very important, and we agree, both at the county level and at the national level. But in a situation where a conditional grant is then sent to a county, the expectation automatically was that the county will oversee the implementation because we have already given a conditional grant. And then the county will be accountable for the final product of that implementation. So what we are saying, we don't want to see situations whereby you've given a conditional grant, the national government is doing the procuring from the national level, and the county is there. So I would have expected my colleague Senator here and Mugatana to be saying that is wrong, irrespective of whether they're in the government or not, because I know, you know, they are older members of parliament. And the fact of the matter is, when things had been done against this constitution, the Senate, their work is to push forward the interest of the counties. Now let me come to the issue of the social insurance fund. As you said, there are 4 bills, and I think we have been discussing this bill. One of the bills is talking about the social health fund. The other one is the facility improvement fund. The other one was the emergency fund, and then the primary health care issue. And we were saying, for me, I get very worried when I see this rush to push this into Parliament, because I can tell you for sure, me and my colleague here, who are in Azimio, we've seen the kind of Parliament we have now. A situation whereby you discuss things very objectively, and you agree these things don't make sense. They don't serve national interest. But now when it comes to that voting, well, you know, even as you discuss those important things, people are just saying, weka swali. Nobody takes time even to listen to the question. Nobody thinking about what you are discussing. And then you see people just vote. So that's what worries me most. Because now, when it comes to Parliament, if we don't consider that public participation and we don't mainstream public participation, I can tell you parliamentarians will pass this bill. And what will happen is people will go to court again. Now we start a court process again, which makes implementation difficult. And in a situation where you are pushing things to Kenyans, just because Parliament has passed, then even implementation is not smooth, because there will be resistance. So for the sake of this kind, what I'm thinking is, let our colleagues who are senators here, at the back of their mind, know that whether I'm a senator in Huda, or I'm a senator, that is Kenya Kwanza government, or I'm a senator in Azimio, my first responsibility is to make sure that devolution, which are the county governments, is actually protected by ensuring that the interests which are being pushed by the party protect devolution and promote it. If we go that way, then I think we have said many times, that Kenyans, and this has been confirmed empirically, Kenyans have gone out there and have said the best thing out of the 2010 constitution was devolution. That has been said. Empirically, people have stated, you conduct a research and they say it. So that coming out from Kenya, it means we should be able to do what it takes to actually protect devolution and make sure we promote it. So these bills, I can tell you, they will come to the House, but if you are not careful, they will still pass.
They will still pass.
We will explain personally, I have a lot of issues I'll be raising with the 4 bills. And more so issues of the way the structure is proposed. Structure, I will be opposing that because I don't think it makes a lot of sense.
So admittedly, we had Sigeri saying that he was part of that particular 3-day conference. Where
not in Naivasha, but in the devolution conference.
Not in Naivasha.
Naivasha was the governor.
It was solely the governors.
So it was the president and the governors.
But in Naivasha, it also I think it's
they came up with
the induction of the senators as well. Wasn't in Naivasha? Okay.
Yes, we did that.
Okay. But how come it was a preserve of governors along with the executive? Because holistically, the senators should be there.
You know, when you're not invited, you probably don't.
Yeah, why didn't you raise questions and queries why you weren't invited?
Because there is the Council of Governors.
The Council of Governors.
And the President. There is actually a provision for a meeting
between the Council of Governors and the Executive.
And the President. Yeah, and that is there by law, so that they convene to discuss issues affecting governance at both levels of government. And then there is the Intergovernmental Committee that coordinates between the Council of Governors and the national government if there are issues or there are problems between them or any disagreements, so that they avoid court issues. So by right, the president can actually sit directly with governors. That is provided for by law.
But there seems to be a disconnect between the Intergovernmental Committee and the Council of Governors.
Yes.
There is a problem of functionality here that needs to be addressed.
There is. Why? Because when the Intergovernmental Committee was set up, it was a law that was passed. And if you look at the way the people are appointed there, governors don't have a role. So when governors, and you know, Intergovernmental Committee is the one that was actually the first organization or group that tried to move the functions of the national government to the county government. But you see, the Council of Governors did not have anything to do with the appointment or structure. It's actually provided by the law that was passed at the time. So the governors, the first governors, when they were elected, they saw we don't have anything here to do with these people. So instead of supporting them, they set up their own Council of Governors, which then, in a sense, you are very right, it has difficulties, a very difficult relationship with the Intergovernmental Committee. Yeah? So that is where the problem is. The governors trust more their Council of Governors, not this other one.
Not an intergovernmental.
And actually, that explains why these sessions between the executive and the governors has more in terms of relationship and work related in complementing the roles of the two. And so when you hear us saying we are very alive to the role of the Senate, we definitely not at any given moment, by the way, Dibal, not that I'm talking against what my colleague Dr. Ari here said, we defend devolution. In fact, the constitution of Kenya is the one of the most progressive. If we were to be very honest to ourselves, the president at the moment is the greatest champion of devolution. He knows the benefits, he's pushed it in terms of having to engage the Council of Governors, knowing that this is the executive team that sits and makes decisions at the county level. What he's been doing lately, the county aggregation and value addition programs that he's been going around and launching them, it is not that he's getting into the role of the governors or the county government. It is a way of advancing the fact that if we ensure the governance at this level to be okay, we will be able to deliver services to the people. And I don't see any challenges regards this particular bill. In terms of the structure, that would be a completely different story. And I'm very sure when it gets to the table, it will not be as my colleague has put the question. Because even the members of Kenya Kwanza, who some of us are very keen to follow the law in ensuring that this corruption, which is the biggest headache, and this is probably the only issue that I will personally be also having an issue with, in terms of, are we creating another fund that will facilitate an employee's resources to get into hands of the fund managers to pocket themselves and to, get out of the employee to themselves? It is a question of the trust deficit in any government agency that is developed. And where we are headed from the time Kenya Kwanza took office, the programs the president has been pushing, the decisions that he's been making, and the pronouncements is a clear indication of the push in ensuring that whatever structure of governance that is created, it achieves the intention. And so when we talk about employment insurance fund, we are all aware of the unemployment story. It is something that is cutting across every other conversation that we have. Every other family, every day, is desirous of getting their child get employed. And it is not possible to do that. When we look at the extent of the insecurity that we have, it gets down to our young ones saying, why would I struggle in school when I'll clear, get my first class, and fail to get employed? Are we looking at achieving this bit by creating this fund? Are we looking at stabilizing the people who get employed, and maybe due to the economic condition of the country, it collapses, your employer is unable to retain you, you are left out of employment, and you are unstable, you do not have a source of income to cushion you as you exit? It is something that when we objectively converse, we will support it. As a Senate, our role is well cut out. Though Makali says the law is clear, this law is never clear. That is why
we need to ask ourselves, because we want to take a short break. Yes. But even when discussing, and we come back, we discuss the unemployment fund, which will seek also it will cost to implement it 7.5 billion shillings. We ask again, why are we turning this country into a welfare state? And now we should be considering, because it seems we are turning this country into a welfare state, but because the employer has to contribute another 1%. I have to contribute another 1% to that particular kitty. Wow. It is not helping me directly. It is helping someone else who's retrenched to cushion him. So is it my obligation to do that, or that should be solely the function of even you yourself? As an individual, you're planning, knowing those we are living in time where we are in a reign of uncertainties. Something will happen tomorrow, so it's up to me also to plan for my tomorrow. Basically, as it stands right now, why will it be the honors of Mungatana to plan for my tomorrow, to caution me for my tomorrow? It's a good salutary effort, but are we also at the risk of turning this state into social welfare state? We have a social health insurance fund. Now also the government is looking on NGOs, and you're telling NGOs that also all your functions, they need to be aligned with the bottom bottom-up economic transformative agenda. Why also will you dictate the donors who are bringing my funds that I should have programs that are aligned to beta? This is where the government is headed to. So we're asking, don't you think it's overplaying its hands as well? No, when we circle back, we shall look into that.